Chess is a timeless game, and some would call it a universal sport. One businessman appreciates it so much that he started a competition here at home. Action News reporter Alice Majuri introduces us to John Cordisco and his chess championship, visiting his corner of the Southern Tier.
I was around as a teenager when Bobby Fischer won the World Championship back in the early 70s, and I got hooked on playing it then. And once you're hooked, you're always hooked for the rest of your life.
Once you're reeled in, where do you play in Broome County? Cordisco invites all ages to his corner store.
That it isn't like any other sport where your physical or your age determines, who plays what. You can have an 8-year-old. In fact, my first annual, I had a 82-year-old play an 8-year-old, and the 8-year-old won.
And it could happen again. 8-year-old Daniel Wright is matched up against Cordisco. Dad says he learned from the best.
I play, but not at his level.
His older brothers.
To the point where he was beating them, they said, you need to go play in a tournament. So we're here today to try it out.
Win or lose, Daniel is happy to play, and Roger content to watch.
You watch a chess tournament, you don't see a lot of activity there, but mentally there's a lot of activity going on, and it's just really exciting to see him being able to compete at this level.
It teaches them a lot of things, how to plan, how to look at things, how actions have consequences. You make a bad decision and how it affects you. I teach them a little bit of patience, because usually kids are a little impatient, adults too.
The chess set, a teaching tool and a universal symbol.
Anywhere, any language, and show them a chess set and they know what it is.
In Binghamton, Alice Majuri, WBNG-TV, Action News.
Well, Cordisco invites you to come in and play for fun or for the experience. Play resumes tomorrow starting at 10 in the morning, but you should show up around 9:30.
Well, folks, another great tournament. The 2015 Tradewise Gibraltar Chess Festival being played in Gibraltar. Unbelievable scenery. Gibraltar is an amazing place, amazing place. World-class players, one of the top-rated opens in the world. Karl Nakamura, Topalov, ex-world champion, Huey Fan, you name it, they're there. Oh, a whole lot of English players, you name it, they're all over the world. And they all come here to Gibraltar once a year for the Gibraltar Chess Festival 2015. From January 26th to February 15th, 2015. Don't miss any of these great games. Hi folks, John Cordisco back again. Another game from round 1 of the Gibraltar Chess Masters 2015. Between someone that needs no introduction in the chess world, Vasilin Topalov, former world champion from Bulgaria, and a gentleman, Juarez Emilio Miguel Sanchez. Not sure what country he's from. Obviously, he's Latino. Anyway, let's get to it. Topalov is 2,800 rated. This gentleman is 2,282. Topalov is white. Sanchez is black. It's going to be a King's Indian. I want to tell you up front, I'll tell you, this is an amazing game. You put the right moves in front of a guy that knows what he's doing. Boy, I'll tell you, let's get to it. G3, bishop, castles, knight C3, D6, typical King's Indian, knight F3, knight C6, castles, A6. Apparently he wants that knight not to come in here. Knight D5, excuse me, D5. Knight A5, hitting the C4 pawn. And interesting though, Topalov's move here. The computer likes queen to D3, B3, which I probably would do, and queen to D4. Topalov decided to go knight to D2. Interesting choice. Now, of course, he's threatening here, and that knight isn't long for the world, so he goes C5. That stops, of course, the pawn, but he can take in passant, which he decides not to. For those beginners out there, I can give you an example. In that case, white could have played takes, and this pawn comes off. But once you move, you don't get a chance to go back and do it. It's a one-time thing. Rook b8. Tiny advantage now for black. I was not too sure about that knight to d2 move. I think b3 was better. Or queen to d3, but it's Topalov, former world champion. a4. Topalov could beat me blindfolded easily. e5. Trying to get some center. Do you play pawn takes? Of course not. Why would you disturb your center? You just play b3. Knight to g4. I think he's looking at maybe down the road. Pawn. Pawn. Then, of course, this is exposed. That King's Indian bishop. e4. Stop all that nonsense. f5. You went anyway. Pawn takes, pawn takes. h3 to kick the knight. Knight goes back to f6. This typical stuff. King's Indian. Open g-file. Black's got some pawns coming down the center. Not so sure how White's knights are going to make out. We'll have to see. Bean kettles the bishop. Queen e8. Going to start marching those pawns. Rook a to e1. I like that. Queen h5. Get the queen over there. Always interesting positions in King's Indian. Always. You go to g6 instead. Knight d2 is the computer's choice. After queen h5, f4. Try to get him to either take or push the pawn. Decides to push. Now right now it's a tiny advantage for black, believe it or not. And you see this, you saw that in the Nakamura game. He's playing someone, I mean, this is 518 points lower than Topalov. That's like a 1600 player playing an 1100 player. Maybe worse. And these guys, they get in positions and they just start playing. Rook to f2. Rook d3, the computer liked a little bit to stop the pawn. And after queen, g4, pawn takes, knight to h5, pawn takes, bishop takes, knight takes. That was the computer sequence. What to do, what to do. I like to pause every once in a while in a game and just take a good hard look. What would you do for black? What would you do as white? Interesting position. 14 pawns on the board. And all 8 minor pieces, all 4 rooks and both queens. Not much maneuvering room here. How do you break through this? Let's see how they do. b6. What else? He's just waiting to see what white's going to do. Knight f1. Now we're getting an idea. Knight b7. Queen to g6 wasn't bad either. So knight b7. Knight e3. This is where I think Mr. Sanchez miscues. The computer likes rook to e8, bishop d7, rook f7, all reasonable moves. I like bishop d7 for one simple reason. It develops the bishop and connects the rooks. But he goes knight to d8. And it's almost a 1.5 advantage, a little over a point for white. If he had played rook to e8 instead, after knight e2, queen g6, g4, pawn takes, f5, I think he would have been okay. But oddly enough, at this point, Topalov, who is no slouch, I don't care if he's getting older, this guy's 2,800 rated. I believe he's still in the top 5 or top 6 in the world. Former world champion. Miscues. g4 is the computer move. Knight to e2 or a5. g4 being the best. He decides to go queen to d2. Computer didn't like that at all. at all. If you had gone G4 after F takes, knight H, still a big advantage for white, but after queen to D2, less than a half pawn advantage. Knight to F7. Now how is white or black going to open this up? Because they're going to move around pieces forever. G4, here we go. Here's the break. Pawn takes. Pawn takes. The computer likes knight takes. But Mr. Sanchez decided to play bishop takes, a very natural move. And it's a 3-point advantage for white instantly. After knight takes, queen takes, knight takes, bishop F5, it's still not that great for black, but he can hope to survive. But after bishop takes, knight takes, knight to H6, knight takes, and it starts to crumble. Bishop H3. It looks really dangerous. Here's the knights coming in. Queen's right here. Bishop's right here. This rook could be a problem. Bishop takes. Queen takes. Rook H2. Beautiful stuff. Beautiful stuff. Where's that queen going to go? All the way back to D7. He has no other choice. Completely out of the action now. They go to G3 instead. After rook, queen H3, queen D3. And white's just a monstrous position over black. Now pause the video here. What would you do here as white? It's an extremely good move. And Topalov found it to his credit. Stop the video now and find the winning move. Rook takes H6. Wow, wow, wow. Queen has to take the knight. If bishop had taken knight here. Beautiful stuff. Beautiful stuff right there. He's doomed. After queen takes D6, knight to F5. Queen to D7. Rook. Here come the pieces. They're all flooding in. Knight checks. King. Queen H2. And that's where he resigns. According to the computer, it's mate in 18. Yeah, like you're going to find a mate in 18. I'll give you a rough idea what the computer said. Rook. Queen. King. Check. Knight F6. Rook takes. Queen takes. D takes. Rook. It's a disaster. Absolute disaster. He has to check. Takes. You're up a queen, a knight, and two pawns. Anyway, folks, that's a hell of a game. Boy, once you open up these positions, depending on who you are, you can really make it happen. So that's another game from round 1 of the Gibraltar Chess Masters 2015. I hope you enjoyed it. I want you all to remember, if you think chess is just a game, you're not playing it right. Take care, folks. Bye-bye.
Cordisco's Corner Store is hosting its 5th annual chess championship. The Broome County Chess Championship Francis Cordisco Memorial got started over the weekend. Organizer John Cordisco says it's an opportunity for chess fans, both experts and newcomers, to test their level of skill. There are 2 sections depending on level of play, and both have cash prizes for the top 3 winners.
We draw some really good players. There's some pretty good players in this county, and it's a very high quality chess compared to the number of people in the area. It's a great tournament, and I encourage people to come down and just to watch if they want.
The second and final round is this Sunday from 10 until 4, and it takes place at Cordisco's Corner Store at 308 Shenango Street in Binghamton.